Donna LaScala has been in the financial service field for over 25 years. Her experience has earned her certification as a registered financial consultant and a certified divorce financial analyst. Donna offers college, divorce, estate, elder care planning, and retirement planning solutions. Donna also has training as a mediator and as a collaborative financial neutral. Plus, she is also a member of the Long Island Collaborative Divorce Professionals. Donna, welcome.
Thank you so much, Ilyssa. It's a pleasure to be back.
Always a pleasure to have you because you always offer us so much information. And the first thing I want to ask you is one of the most misunderstood things when it comes to a divorce is the timeline of when the financials are going to move. Help us understand how monies and assets are transferred once the sign-off is official.
Well, it always depends on where the assets are held and what type of assets they are. And it's much more complex than most people understand and realize because every different type of account can have its own idiosyncrasies and stop the process if it's not handled absolutely correctly. So the goal always would be, okay, so I sign my divorce decree and 5 hours from now I'll have the money in my account. Well, unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. So it really depends on where the money is held, what needs to be done in order to get that money from point A to point B, what documents need to be signed by the court, what documents need to be submitted in what way, and that's really what happens. And the timeline, unfortunately, can be anywhere from, a month to 12 months, depending upon where it is.
Why should somebody have a plan in place once they receive that financial settlement?
Well, it's very important because depending upon how those assets are classified, let's just talk about retirement assets in particular. They have a lot of caveats about their taxation and any penalties for those assets when they're held in the individual name and when they're transferred to the new person. So let's just talk about IRAs, for example, and 401ks and 403bs. Those are the things that most people have. So if you're under the age of 59 and a half and you take money out of any of your accounts, there's an automatic 10% penalty that is assessed by the IRS. Because the goal is for you to keep that money in for your own personal retirement to supplement Social Security once you have retired. So they're discouraging you from early withdrawal. In addition to which, if the money has been in one of those accounts, an IRA, a 401k, or 403b, or any other derivation on a theme, they have been growing tax deferred. So once the money comes out, there's tax owed. If you are now the new recipient of any of those funds and you are planning to use that to, let's say, pay off credit card debt, pay a mortgage, send your kid to college, and you are under the age of 59 and a half, you are going to be hit with an automatic 10% penalty and you're going to have to pay tax. So it's not the most efficient way to use those funds. That's why you need a plan in place even before you decide which assets you're going to receive, because you need to know how and why you're going to use everything that's coming your way. It's very, very important, and the mistakes could be costly.
Yeah, and another important thing that I want to note, which comes up a lot in divorces, why is it sometimes necessary to have a quadro? And a quadro, if you don't know what that means, is Qualified Domestic Relations Order.
Okay, so a quadro is put into place specifically for accounts like pensions, like defined benefit plans, like 401ks, 403bs, because they have very strict requirements that have been designed by the IRS in order to make sure that those funds are being handled properly as far as taxation is concerned. So when you are a participant in a 401k, there are limits to the amount of money that you can put in. Sometimes there's a matching contribution by your employer, and those things have to be handled properly. So in order to get that money out from the participant to now the new recipient, which is, in this case, the ex-spouse. It needs to be done in such a way that there are no penalties or taxes owed by either party on the transition via divorce. So it's a very specific document that needs to be created in order to make that happen. That document needs to be specific to the third-party administrator that is managing those assets, needs to be written in language that that third-party administrator will accept, and it also needs to be filed with the court and signed off by a judge so that it's done in the right manner and the recipient is not getting hit with penalties and taxes, and the person that's relinquishing those assets isn't getting hit with those penalties or taxes either. And that's the only way that it can be done. The exception to the rule, for the most part, is if you have assets in an IRA. Because most IRAs, it's an individual retirement account, IRA. So it doesn't have the same requirements by the IRS and by, the legal system out there that these other accounts have. So on distribution, it's usually the case that you can have a signed divorce decree and a form that the place where it's being held, let's just call it Fidelity, for example, would recognize and be able to then distribute the assets pursuant to divorce, and you would not need a quadro. There are exceptions to those rules, and usually it has to do with the type of assets that are being held.
Yeah, and getting back to something you said before, how long things take to do a quadro process can take a really long time, months, maybe even a year.
Absolutely. And the reason for that a lot of times is that it's not filed at the same time as the divorce packet. And that's what causes the delay, because then you have to go back to the judge with these new documents, and who knows what's gone on in their world and their lives and how many other cases are in front of them, that there becomes a delay. The other reason why sometimes it's delayed is because, remember what I said, there are very specific rules and regulations to each type of plan, and there are nuances depending upon who's managing it, so which third-party administrator. If the quadro document is not written specifically with the right language, it can be kicked back. In addition to which, how many times have people changed jobs midstream during a divorce, or the place where they work has decided, you know what, we're not happy with Fidelity, we're now going to go with American Funds, and they change the third-party administrator. If the quadro document does not have anything in it that allows for that kind of maneuver, you have to have a whole new document written because, again, it's specific, sometimes very specific to the third-party administrator. So that can delay the process. Having a professional helping you navigate through all of this is key, because there are things that we know in my profession that even the attorneys sometimes don't know because of the nuances of the financial services industry. So it's very, very important to have someone with the right knowledge in your corner helping you navigate through all of this. It also cuts down on the aggravation that you have to deal with as the individual waiting for that money to come.
Last question, because I know we're running out of time. Why is it so important for people to pay attention? Because this can be financially beneficial, especially if people need to meet expenses and need quick money.
Well, there's something called the Rule 72T, which allows early distribution for very specific circumstances, and it actually can be invoked during divorce. So if there's something that, you need lump sum, working with a financial advisor, working with a CDFA, they can tell you how to get around some of the rules and allow you to get that lump sum of cash that you need immediately.
Donna, always great information. Thank you for joining us. Happy holidays. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
At Comprehensive Divorce Solutions, Donna LaScala provides the tools for people to deal with assets, debts, equitable distribution, and retirement in divorce negotiations. We hold your hand during and after the divorce process, providing a roadmap of what happens next and into the future. Divorce is difficult whether you're initiating it or not. It's fraught with emotion. When you deal with emotions, you are not dealing with logic, making it more difficult to decide what to do with your money. Hiring a professional to assist you in walking down the money path is crucial to avoiding potentially costly mistakes. Donna's goal is to make sure that each individual knows how they are going to be able to survive and thrive during and after divorce. As a CDFA-trained mediator and collaborative financial neutral, Donna helps people get unstuck and move forward towards their post-divorce future. Call Donna LaScala at 516-218-6919, 516-218-6919.